talking about Instagram, you know what Instagram's done to me? It's made me look at less blogs.
Yeah.
And I guess that's probably not just me, but I imagine everybody.
Yeah.
I mean, I follow a lot of great people on Instagram, and they're doing a lot of cool stuff. And I'm actually biased because I really like iPhone photography only. I don't like these people are uploading photos on their Instagram. I don't like that. I've done it once or twice myself. I fall victim. But I've been looking at more Instagram and Tumblr accounts than blogs or anything along that line, whether it be Wall Street Journal, New York Times, whatever, whoever has a photo story. I don't really look at them much. I don't know what's happening. I don't know if I'm the only one that I'm falling victim to, or if this is common. And if so, why even have a blog or a website anymore when you have an Instagram or you have a Tumblr?
Well, that's exactly it. Like back in the day, going back a few years, well, for a long time, I followed RSS feeds the same way you're following Tumblr and Instagram, but RSS was never like easy enough for people to do. Like it was kind of confusing. How does this work? What does it mean? But now that you have like Tumblr and Instagram, it's easy to follow people, and their stuff just comes to you. And that's what RSS did as well. They just made it easy. So I still use RSS a lot, so I can track all those other sites, but it's crazy. Now you just sign up for the channel, subscribe in, and get it. But the thing that happens to me with Instagram, and the reason I don't look at it a lot, it's too much. It's like a flood of stuff, and I can't, it's like on the phone I can't filter through the same way I can on a computer, Like, I just can't, it's harder for me to control the information. I don't know where I'm going with that. Maybe I cut that part out, but it's just like I think I'm following like 120 people, and it's like every hour there's like 30 new photos minimum. I can't keep up with it. And Tumblr's the same way. I've been doing a lot of Tumblr and reposting them on the Clunk, and that's been fun.
The Clunk is great.
And the thing I like about the Clunk is it's only jaw-dropping stuff. You know what I mean? That's the goal. It's got to be something that is, if you don't click on it, you missed, But here's my other beef with Instagram. I don't have a beef with Instagram, but here's a beef. Okay, I saw this photographer posted a thing with he's having a new gallery show of his photos from some project, and then it said at the bottom, and he will also be showing 150 of his iPhone photos, from some so and such. Here's my thing. Stop calling it iPhone photography. It's photography. I'm so sick of people having to say, this is an iPhone shot. I fell into that trap for like 2 weeks with my project a few years ago when I started it. Like, because at the time it was like, I felt, hey, I'm doing work that you wouldn't know it was an iPhone shot unless I told you.
Yeah.
And then I realized, like, it's photography. It stands on its own, whether I shot it with the phone or the camera, or a DSLR. Like, I'm so sick of iPhotography and iPhone photography and people calling it that stuff. I can see you calling it like hipstamatic shot, because that's the filtration you're talking about, or Instagram, you're talking about the filters. But I'm sick of like this iPhone photography. Just throw it out there as photography, Am I alone?
No, I don't think so. I totally agree with you. And proof of that was this past week, Richard Cochi Hernandez, I think it was on Tuesday or Wednesday on Instagram, started just uploading photos with a time stamp on them to show you when he was shooting them. And he started like at 9 a.m. And this is San Francisco, so but he started at 9 a.m. and goes until like 6 p.m. And he's dropping photos like every 10, 15 minutes on Instagram, but they're not just photos. They're like, whoa, how is this even possible? This guy is creating this imagery in an hour. I mean, he just dropped 5 amazing photos. I mean, just amazing graphics with light and color and people's faces and just spectacular. And I don't care if he did that with his phone or if he did it with his camera. Actually, I'm just impressed because he made these images no matter how he did it. But they had the timestamp and show that he could do that much photography in one day. It actually intimidated me. Yeah. And I've always been a fan of Richard Cochi Hernandez, and the guy growing up in Bay Area, in my mind, he was one of the best photographers, and he still is one of the best photographers in the Bay Area. But seeing someone be able to still shoot, whether they're using an iPhone or a camera, it doesn't matter. But to see someone be able to produce like that, it makes you not want to shoot again. Like, I didn't want to shoot Instagram for like a day.
I see amazing stuff like his and Ben Lowy. Like, didn't Richard do a photo column for the Mercury News back in the day called Silicon Valley JPEG? Was that his or was that somebody else?
I'm not sure that was his, but
I should look it up before I say it. But
I'm not sure that was his, but I remember Richard Cochi Hernandez sat in on a class at San Jose State, and this was back in the 90s, and he was using Holgas back then.
Uh-huh.
And this was really new stuff, because no one was using Holgas in the 90s, because journalism and photojournalism especially was so ethic-driven that they didn't want you to mess with the imagery. They wanted you to basically photograph what you were seeing. And he started using the Holgas, and no one was using that. This toy camera, and all these old timers were scoffing at him. But the imagery was great. He was creating, and then that became kind of status quo come the 2000s. But it's interesting that if you just got into photography now, and you think everyone had been shooting that, but there were definitely people out there that were stepping up a notch and kind of breaking down those ethic walls.
Well, you never saw my zines from the 90s, I don't think, but we had a guy in 1992, is a friend of mine named Tustin Ellison, and he was doing Diana camera in 1992, and I was running his stuff like on the back page of every issue of the zine, full page, like 8.5 by 11, and it was awesome. And it was like no one else was doing it. Like, he was the only one doing it out there. And it's so funny how like something that can be really cool pretty soon just becomes like normal.
Totally.
Like, and it's still cool. Like, I love Holga shots. I love great Holga shots. I love great Instagram. I love great Hipstamatic. I love great stuff that's just Tri-X out of an old camera. I don't have guidelines on how you have to produce a great photo. I just want to see a great photo. But one of the coolest things is to be out there at the front and be doing something before everyone realizes what you're doing,
Before it becomes status quo.
Yeah.
Before, because it's kind of like rap. I remember now we're really aging ourselves. It's like rap music. That's status quo, and it's fantastic. Everyone loves it. It's great. But I remember back in the 80s, they only had a half an hour on MTV for rap. That just shows you how
MTV Raps.
MTV Raps with Fat Five Freddy
and Ed Lover
and Dr. Dre later on.
The other Dr. Dre.
The other Dr. Dre, not the real Dr. Dre. But it just shows you. Things progress so fast.
Yeah.
So I'd like to see what's going to happen in another 5 years. Instagram. This podcast will be a joke in 5 years. People are like, what? They're talking about Instagram? That's like 8-track. For you kids that don't know what 8-track is, Wikipedia it.
Well, here's the thing for me. Maybe it's because I'm from the analog. I have stacks of books at home, and I can't get rid of them. I keep the good ones, and there's a lot of good ones because I read a lot. But I think of like the Instagram feed, so I can have these fleeting moments of loving the work of these photographers, and Tumblr. I can have these fleeting moments, but I'd almost rather see I'd almost like to see some of these top Instagram people do like a zine or a book or something that I could have, An Instagram book would be so cool, like a 6x6 square book, with like number 1 to 100 or 1 to 300. That's what I need to do with the Trickster God, because I looked and I'm up to 600 shots now that I will have published in another month or so. It'd be cool to have a book that was like 1 through 100, and then 101 to 200 or whatever.
Yeah.
And just have it be like a small square book. And like I said, I'd rather have like 100 of those out in the world than 100,000 hits on the site. Because hits on the site now are like you're talking about Tumblr and Instagram, and throw Facebook in there. Hits to your blog now are somebody linked to you from Facebook. So a bunch of people click on your site, and then they go back to Facebook. Like, they look at what they're supposed to look at, and then they go back to Facebook. But if you have a book, that's awesome.